members of the public that are here today and those who are watching through the live stream. We have file items before us 1 through 11, one of them being in executive session. Before we start, why don't we start a quorum? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella?
Here.
Canella here. Leyva? Here. Leyva here. Mitchell? Here. Mitchell here. Fuller? DeLeon?
Here.
DeLeon here.
Thank you very much. We've established a quorum. Let's go to file item number 1. What we're going to do with file item number 1 is we're going to split the question. So we're going to vote on file item number 1. However, we're going to split the question with SB 75 through 109. We're going to split those measures apart from the rest of the bill references to policy committee. So we're going to go again, first, the reference of bill to committees minus SB 75 through 109. So we're splitting the question there. Can I get a motion, please? We have a motion made by Senator Holly Mitchell. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella?
Aye.
Canella, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
This passes on a 4-0 vote. Before we go to SB 75 through 109, which are the budget trailer bills, any questions? Commentaries, please. Mr. Canella.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I do object to these bills, SB 75 through 109. We don't believe that it's appropriate to move the empty budget slot bills to the floor so they can be sent to the Assembly to be amended with the last-minute budget deal. We desire a more transparent budget process with language that would be prepared for at least 3 days before it is voted on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Canella. I appreciate your comments. Let's move on the motion. Can I get a motion, please? We have a motion made by Senator Connie Leyva. Again, we're splitting the question on the reference of bills to the policy committee. That is SB 75 through 109. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella?
No.
Canella, no. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
This passes on a 3-1 vote. Mr. Canella, thank you very much. You were very persuasive. No. You're always eloquent and articulate, always. So I appreciate your input. It's very important. So we have an appointment before us, which is Undersecretary of the Healthcare Services Department of Corrections, and that is Diana Tosh. Diana Tosh. Okay. I'm reading it phonetically right there. So Diana Tosh, welcome. If there's anyone that you'd like to introduce, family members, friends, loved ones, please do so, and we welcome your brief statement.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, and I would like to thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. With me today is my husband, John, and his service dog, Studley, and also my extended corrections family behind me. So hopefully the dog will remain under good behavior throughout this. So I have a passion for public health, and I've dedicated the majority of my career to the delivery of health care. And I believe that the state and CDCR are entering an exciting time. With the court order that was issued in Plata last Tuesday, and also at the same time, the receiver's report on the delivery of health care in the prison system, we're moving into a transition period for the state and CDCR. And so the court order outlines the pathway for transition of healthcare from the receiver and federal site back to the state and CDCR. And this transition plan is very similar to the plan that I was involved with when I was the statewide dental director with the Perez dental lawsuit. It's very, very similar. So I have some ideas about how the transition can progress, and I have some firsthand knowledge about this type of transition plan. So I firmly believe that the state and CDCR are ready to manage the delivery of health care to the patients that are housed in our prison system today. And I look forward to your questions, and thank you for the opportunity to serve the state.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tosh. I appreciate you coming before the committee and meeting with the individual members of the Rules Committee. I will say it is impressive, being that you are a dentist by profession. and not a medical doctor, to be nominated by the governor to head up the healthcare services for a much maligned and troubled correctional facility here in California. That being said, speak to us about, you being a dentist, and it's sort of a paradigm shift altogether, and not an MD. What is it about your skill set that you think that the governor took a bold move and made the decision to nominate to be the Undersecretary of Healthcare Services for the correctional facilities, a dentist as opposed to an MD?
So I think that to manage the healthcare system, you need to actually be able to manage as well as know healthcare. And so I have the ability to do both. So while I was a dentist, I went to dental school, and I had never graduated from college before I went into dental school. So
Oh, straight from
yeah.
high school?
No, not from high school. I did do, the prerequisite classes.
Gotcha. Community
And
college, or?
Community college, and I went 1 year to the university, and I took the dental exam, and I applied to dental school, and I got in. And so I went to dental school, and after I graduated, I was working, and it always kind of bothered me that I had not graduated from college. So I went back to college, and I got my degree in management and organizational development. And so I think that I am uniquely qualified. I went back to actually get that skill set for management, and I enjoy what I do. And so I think that as a dentist, also just with, in healthcare, we're always doing self-assessment and self-evaluation and making sure that we're delivering the best healthcare that we can. And so as a dentist, every day when we pick up the drill and we drill on someone's tooth, we're going to look and we're going to see, what do we want it to look like? What do we want it to look like when it's at the end? And are we doing a good job? And so, you have to have that within yourself, to have that ability to self-criticize, look for room for improvement, and always try to strive to do the best job.
Thank you, Ms. Tosh. Now, what type of relationship do you currently have with the federal receiver? And in addition to that, what role will you play, if any, with regards to development of healthcare policy, given the circumstances within CDCR?
So my relationship with the receiver is a very good relationship. We have weekly meetings with his executive team and on the healthcare side, which also includes some folks from CDCR as well on the healthcare side. I meet with the chief deputy receiver every week. I also meet with their chief of operations weekly, and I have other meetings with other folks within healthcare. So the relationship is there with the receiver, and I believe, we already consult back and forth on certain issues, and we also have other meetings, every other week, CDCR as a whole and the receiver and his executives. So I think that as the lawsuit progresses and as institutions start to begin to be turned over, then there will be a greater role to play.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Tosh. We're going to open up to questions or commentaries from the members. We will start. Ms. Mitchell? Yeah? Okay, we'll start with Senator Holly Mitchell.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As the pro tem was asking you the question about your relationship with the receiver, I see that he's written a very strong letter of support. I think so that's a positive, true feather in your cap. I've met with the receiver, I think every year since I've served in the legislature, based on my public safety committee and budget service, to really make sure I had a working knowledge of what he confronted upon arrival and kind of his strategy for improving services. And so my question really focuses on the transition and what your sustainability plan is, how you intend, for example, he's pursuing accreditation. I'm assuming, as in many accreditation processes, once you receive accreditation, there are steps you have to take to maintain it. It's not just a gold seal of approval forever. And so I want to know how you intend to sustain not just a constitutional level of acceptable health care, but as a health care provider yourself, what the sustainability plan is in terms of providing top quality healthcare services as well as maintaining accreditation.
Yeah, so we were faced with this within Perez as well, because the process can be a lengthy one to go through the audit of the institutions and then maintaining the level of care. And so you have to ensure to pass those audits that the processes are in place so the sustainability and durability is there. And so these audits are not something where, you know, we can all cram for the test and ensure that everything is good for that day, because that's not the way this works. They're looking at the quality of care. And so ongoing, we also have quality management, and we also have performance improvement plans that we update annually so that the institutions continue to strive to do that good quality care. And they're also initiating the patient safety culture, where if something has a negative outcome, are we looking to point a finger and say, you did a really, really bad job? Or are we going to create a culture where I want to say, we had this really bad outcome, and then we can have a good discussion on maybe the process or some other thing that went awry in the process so that we can change it? Because if we're just looking at blaming someone, then, and there's something wrong within the way we do our business, then that problem's going to keep happening. So we, you know, back to what I said, we need to be self-critical. We need to be able to be open to hearing from outside, to keeping abreast of what the new modalities of treatment are, to keep up with the standard of care in the community.
How do you respond? I often hear from colleagues sometimes and others who have issue with the notion that inmates are getting better health care than some communities across California. How do you respond to that?
Well, you know, we've been charged with these people, patients, and to provide a standard of care. And as clinicians, we have to provide a community standard of care, and that's how we're all judged. And so, you know, we have to provide that. And so, you know, that may be the perception on the outside, but we're just following the community standard of care that everyone should receive.
You mentioned the Perez case. Help me understand your role. So will dental fall within your scope as well in maintaining that transition?
Yes.
So health and dental will be together as one.
Together as one,
they should be. Final couple of questions. With regard to mental health services, an issue that we hear and I heard a lot of while both a Public Safety Committee member and Budget Committee member, in terms of mental health care needs and services delivered within CDCR. Based on your observations since becoming Undersecretary, what are the mental health services that you think have been most successful?
So I think that some of our great successes that we've had are the programs that we've developed for our inpatient care. So the majority of our inpatient care, the highest level of care, is provided by Department of State hospitals. But for the women, we developed the psychiatric inpatient program down at CIW. And we're very proud of that program. It has received high praise from the special master and his monitors. And so since the inception of that, we have also developed a similar program for the condemned inmates at San Quentin. And that also has received tremendous oversight by the special master and his experts. They were there quite often, and I believe they just issued, not a recent report, but a report about the great care that is being provided at San Quentin for those inmates. So when I talk about the higher level of care, you know, some long-term care for those inmates that have a higher level.
I'm always struck by kind of the suicide rate amongst incarcerated, that it's by far exceeds kind of your national average. And last August, the department proposed your new isolation units to the Coleman Court. And I know that they've been largely controversial. Could you talk to me a little bit about your position on the units and whether you see them having a long-term kind of use?
Yeah, so the the long-term housing, restricted housing, and the short-term restricted housing units were developed to house our lowest level of mental health care needs in patients. And so before, we've always had special units for our higher level, the enhanced outpatient patients, but we lumped in these lower level with the general population. And so with these new units that we're just starting to roll out, we started the first one at CSP SAC, and the next one will be, I believe, down at Substance Abuse Treatment Facility down in the Valley, is to give those patients additional time out of their cell, additional treatment, additional activities to do to help reduce the suicide rate. And so we're hoping that these and the long-term restricted housing unit is at Corcoran, and our goal is to reduce the suicides. We know the greatest number, the majority of our suicides happen in the segregation units, and so we're doing everything we can to try to reduce the suicides. We initiated Guard 1 a few years back, and that is to make sure that we're getting the rounding done by the correctional officers. And we have work groups ongoing to continue to assess what we're doing for suicide prevention and what more can we do.
Will inmates who have been sent to the SHU, the secure housing units, be eligible to participate in these new housing configurations?
So the lowest level, they will be going to the long-term restricted housing units, so they will no longer be in the SHU.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Mr. Cannella.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. We had a nice meeting yesterday. I enjoyed getting to know you, and I just got 4 things that we talked about. I'm not going to rehash because you answered my questions, but we talked about you're still serving as the acting undersecretary for the Administrative and Offender Services, so we're basically getting a 2-for-1. You're doing both jobs now just for one pay, so thank you very much for your willingness to serve in both capacities. I was also concerned about the Stockton Healthcare Facility. Lots of money, it's having some problems, but you talked through some of those issues and what you're doing to make sure that facility is up and running. We talked about the receivership, which I think we're all very anxious to get that back in the hands of the state of California as long as we can provide the services. Right? That's the most important thing. And you were able to address that. And then we also talked about treatment of mentally ill patients. Obviously, they need to be treated differently, and it sounds like you have a pretty robust plan in place to do that. So we talked about those things, and I was very satisfied with your answers, so I look forward to supporting you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cannella. Last but not least, Ms. Linda.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Hello, Diana.
Hello.
It was great meeting with you. I think besides being incredibly qualified, I love your enthusiasm and your passion for healthcare. People can have a skill for a job, but you will bring the passion to the job, so thank you.
Thank you.
I also thank you for clarifying Chino Women's Prison is in my district, and I appreciate you clarifying some of the women's health screenings that we're going to be changing. And I just had one question. So an inmate who's receiving either health care or mental care, when they're released, do you work with them, or does the prison work with to make that transition to the outside to help them continue treatment?
Yeah, so we do have some transition work through the parole operations to actually try to assist them with, re-entry into society. And actually in San Diego, we have the Corrections to Community Transitional Reentry Program, and there's 82 beds for that. And that really, they're out there 2 years ahead of time to get them connected. And we're also looking at opening up another 82-bed facility in Los Angeles County and in negotiations for a few more to really get the women connected with the community and get them so that they can be successful.
Very good. And since the women's prison is in San Bernardino County, maybe we can work together in opening some transitional housing in San Bernardino County. That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Leyva. What we're going to do right now is we're going to open up for those who want to testify in support of your nomination. Those want to very briefly state your name and the reasons why you're in support. This, again, is those in support of the nomination of Ms. Tosh. Don't all rush the microphone at the same time. Okay. Well, we got someone already. Come on up. The CDCR people are very circumspect, cautious people.
Joyce Hayhoe, representing the Federal Receiver's Office. We've sent you a letter. Again, we're strongly in support of Diana's confirmation. She's the right person for the job at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other folks in support? Seeing none. Those in opposition? No folks in opposition? No botched, bleached job on the teeth? Okay. All right.
I scared him away with the talk about the
Okay.
drilling, you know.
Okay. Now with that, I thank you very much, Ms. Tosh, for presenting your views individually with the members and for answering questions. Can I entertain a motion? So moved. We have a motion that's made by Senator Mitchell. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella, Leyva. Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell. Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller, DeLeon.
Aye.
DeLeon, we have sufficient votes.
So what we have a 3-0 vote, so obviously that is sufficient to move your nomination to the Senate floor. We're going to keep the roll open so Mr. Canella can join us in a few moments, and he can add on, which I will make the assumption in the affirmative of your confirmation with that, Ms. Tosh. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, colleagues, what we're going to do is we're going to move forward on our agenda. File items number 3, as well as file items number 3 through 10. And then we do have a walk-on. I want to make sure everyone has a copy of the walk-on. That is from Senator Ben Allen. So we have file items number 3 through 10, plus one walk-on by Senator Ben Allen. Can we entertain a motion? We have a motion that's made by Senator Leyva. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella, Leyva. Leyva, aye. Mitchell. Mitchell, aye. Fuller, DeLeon.
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
Okay, these file items pass 3-0. We're going to hold the roll and keep it open.
Want to take a break?
We'll take a quick 5-minute break. Colleagues, we're going to reconvene the Senate Rules Committee. Madam Secretary, please lift the call.
For item 2A, Senators Canella.
Aye.
Canella, aye. Fuller. 4-0.
Okay, the governor's appointee passes on a 4-0 vote. Let's lift the call. Madam Secretary, and file items number 3 through 10, including the walk-on from Senator Ben Allen.
Senators Canella.
Aye.
Canella, aye. Fuller. 4-0.
Final vote is 4-0. We're going to adjourn the Senate Rules Committee and go immediately into executive session.